on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Tales of the Underdog. Today I have a special guest, a good friend, somebody that I met from another great friend, Aaron Williamson. Thank you so much, brother, for being here today. I know it's been a while since I've been asking you. I know you're very busy. I know you got a lot going on with Andy and, the whole team and the whole army. And I just wanted to just tell you thank you so much for having the opportunity to come on here onto the Tales of the Underdog. And I wanted to start off with a little bit of, I don't know too much about your background. I kind of just got introduced to you about a year ago when we were here at the same location for the couples boot camp, which we're actually we're here for this weekend, right? And you're going to be going with us?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I'm excited for that. And I kind of wanted to start off with so the podcast that I started, which is Tales of the Underdog, is just individuals who have been underdogs, who have created something huge out of their lives. Not necessarily that they came from poverty, but they more adversity and stuff like that. So I was just wondering, who's Aaron and what was your kind of beginnings as a teenager and all that? And what made you get into the fitness? And I know also if you could get into a little bit about serving our country and all that.
Yeah. Well, I love the underdog theme and I fit it, you know what I mean? I grew up poor, lived in a trailer, never really had much, which I think shows today where I don't really, material things aren't important to me. It's really substance and purpose, but I had a really, as many do, messed up childhood, no direction, no role models, and just had to figure out what the next step was as I turned into an adult. I got into trouble, almost died in 7th grade from drugs, overdose on cocaine and speed.
Oh, wow.
And it's crazy to be that young and to be doing that kind of stuff, but when you hang with the wrong people, that's what happens. And honestly, man, I just kind of navigated through high school, and it was around my junior year when this one dude I was good friends with, he's a varsity football player, linebacker. You ever watch WWE back in the day?
Yeah.
You remember Goldberg?
Yes. Was that WWF at that time?
I think it was WWF, yeah.
Yeah.
But Goldberg, the shaved head, the traps, just looked like a monster. That's what this guy, that's who he was. And when he graduated, he went to Marine Corps boot camp. And I remember when he came back, it was like looking at a completely different person. He was this angry dude who just literally, you didn't even want to talk too much because he just had an attitude about everything. And to come back and see this streamlined G.I. Joe looking guy with all the respect kind of just makes you wonder, what did he go through to make him like that? And that's when I decided the Marine Corps was what I wanted to do. And that's when I joined, and that's when my first transformation began, was Marine Corps boot camp, South Carolina, Parris Island.
No way.
Step on those yellow footprints and you're in another world. And that was the beginning.
So how old were you when you enlisted?
18.
18.
Just out of high school.
No way. And then when you enrolled, he was your biggest influence in that sector to join was he a Marine as well, or what was he?
Yeah, he joined the Marine Corps.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay. And then how long were you in the Marine Corps for?
So I did a little over 7 years, and once I ended my active duty, I ended up going back overseas. But I had a really interesting Marine Corps career that it just goes to show if you really set your mind to do something, you can really make anything happen. I was an infantry guy, 0311 MOS, and when I went to Okinawa, Japan, my first deployment, that's where I fell in love with fitness. If anyone who's listening to this podcast, if they're a veteran, they know if you serve and you are deployed, you either turn into an alcoholic or a PT stud. And PT became my thing. I got bit by the fitness bug, really got into the bodybuilding culture. Well, I wanted to be a pro bodybuilder. That's the goal of how all this started. And saw my body transform. I started reading all the magazines. This is when Muscle Tech was big. And it just kind of turned into this thing. And I heard about this section called the Body Bearers, the Marine Corps Body Bearers. It's a 15 to 18 man detail for the Marine Corps that does funerals at Arlington National Cemetery in Washington, D.C. So basically you're in the commandant's backyard. And you get waivers for everything. Your blues are specially made. You get waivers to go eat in the chow hall because ultimately you're trying to get as big and strong as you possibly can. So I became obsessed about wanting to be a part of this section. And what ended up happening was we got in communication with them when I was in Japan. I came back. They strength tested me. There's an initial strength test that you have to meet.
Okay.
And I failed it. So I'm like, well, I'll just move on and keep doing the Fleet Marine Force thing. And then I got cut orders out of nowhere when I was getting ready for squad leader school. They cut me orders. I went to DC and then started my training to be a body bearer, which was extremely difficult. I mean, you're carrying around 500, 600, 700, 800-pound caskets every day, plus weight training. So you're going to get big and strong, but there's a level of discipline that goes into that duty. And I call it my most humble duty, right? Because when you're laying someone to rest, that's the last image a family's going to have of their loved one is you putting them into the hole, folding the flag, presenting it to, the next of kin. And then from there, I ended up going to do personal security for General Pace at the Pentagon.
Oh, wow.
At the time, he was the vice chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, so he served under Bush. And that exposed me to a whole side of politics that I'm glad I went through because it makes a lot of what I see today, it makes more sense to me on how fake everything is that we hear. Like, people base their opinions off of the news, which should be the very last place you should base your opinions off of because it's so faulty on every end. I had a top secret clearance, TSSCI, while I was at the Pentagon. So, you're exposed to classified documents and you read things, and it's interesting to see a real life scenario as it really happened. But the news, when you hear it a few days later, it's not really what the story was. And I wish people would understand how toxic the news is, and they need to stop watching it.
But do you think it's because they don't get enough information in the news that they just kind of make up with what the information they do get, or do they just give them what they want them to hear?
Well, think about it, right? A lot of this stuff is classified, so you're never gonna get the whole story, and it's classified for a reason. We don't need to know every single detail about every single thing because if we know it, ultimately our enemies are going to know it, which makes us more vulnerable.
Right.
But we're in a society where we feel like we should know everything all the time. And I do feel like we should have context and know a lot, but there are certain things behind the scenes that need to be classified. So in saying that, yeah, people are going to fill in the blanks with what they think and assumptions and then here you go, you base your opinion on something that's not true and it creates a movement. And next thing you know, you've got a narrative around something that's not even factual.
So when you look at the news now with all the shit that's going on, are you kind of like,
dude,
I know you don't watch the news, but at least shit that you can't avoid. You know what I mean?
It's disheartening, man. It's really disheartening because you just know there's so much behind it that people aren't getting the full story on, but yet they're the ones that are just running rampant talking about, what we should be believing based on what they're being fed. So it's just not good.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't even watch TV. I mean, honestly, since I've been here, there's no time.
Yeah.
There's no time. I think I've had the TV on maybe twice.
No way.
Since last summer.
And how long you been here? Since last summer?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Well, that's good, right? Because we always stay busy like that as well, man.
Yeah, but it's the Marine Corps changed my life. The Marine Corps, I say, is my salvation. There's a couple things. There's fitness and there's the Marine Corps. Both of those things have kept me alive. Without either one, I wouldn't be here having this conversation with you.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's probably like my biggest regret is not being able to serve our country. I tried. I think I was like 33 or something like that. And I was like, let me at least go do the national something. Let me do so when I die, I have something that I said I did for our country. And they turned me down. They said, I don't remember if it was my tattoos or I was too old already, what it was. But I was just like, damn. And I tell my kids, like, if you want, I would love for you guys to serve our country. I think everybody should, at least my opinion. I just love this country so much, even though I'm an immigrant from El Salvador.
But what you're doing right now, I mean, is a great service to a lot of people.
Thank you.
And honestly, I think a lot of people, not think, I know, a lot of people are going to look up to you and respect what you're doing. You know, having not served and hearing you wanting to serve and not have been able to, and what you're doing now, I think is pretty amazing.
And I appreciate that, because the gentleman that I just met outside, like, you get a lot of backlash. You get a little bit of both, right? A lot of people think that it's always like beautiful, like doing these podcasts, and when you post, you're exposing yourself to the public out there, so you're just gonna get both. You know, you're gonna get critics and you're gonna get people. But when you hear individuals like that and they're like, I just saw your podcast, or I admire this, I'm just like, it's worth it, because my intentions of what I do, like you do and Andy does, it's like with good purpose, you know what I mean, to help the world, to be able to make the world better, like to inspire people, you know, and to change people the way they look at because like you said, the news is all fucked up. So like, if we go based off of that, everybody's depressed. They think the world's gonna end. They think like all kinds of shit's gonna happen. You know,
that's where we are. Like literally, what you said is exactly what's happening right now in society.
And so, like when I hear individuals, like I'm like, okay, always tell Kim, I'm like, let's continue to go. Let's continue to post. Let's continue to do this, because it's a lot. People don't understand how much work this is, energy-wise. Like when I started it, I was like, all right, you know, but it's a lot to give people. Like when you try to inspire people, you try to motivate, or you try to coach people or mentor them, whatever it might be. It's exhausting.
Yeah,
like it's exhausting. It's just as much as working out. You know what I mean? And it's like, but I love it. You know, I think that God chose us for a reason. God gave it, you know, each person a certain individual task to do. And if you fulfill that purpose, you know, and you do it to your best, I think that you live a good life. You know what I mean? And is it going to be easy? No. And that's why I'm so intrigued by individuals like yourself, because from the moment I met you and you spoke on stage here, I was just like, who is this guy? You know what I mean? And then I started following you, and I just started seeing everything you have accomplished in your life. And then I heard you serve for this great country, and I'm just like, he's got a story. You know what I mean? We all have a story, but this guy has a story that needs to be shared. And I thank you for that, because it's just something that I just feel that the world needs to know. You know what I mean? Because individuals like myself and you are the ones who are going to change this world for a few people or thousands of people. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
Our job is just to expose what we know out into the world and let people run with it however they want to. So I thank you for that.
Yeah, I love that.
I wanted to ask you before we jump on to the next. So I know you're in the Marines. Did you ever serve in combat or anything like that?
So my time over in Iraq, I was with the Joint Staff at the Pentagon. So we did security work, placing advanced security teams set for our trips. My time over in Iraq was predominantly as a contractor.
Okay. What does that mean?
So basically, when I ended my active service, I went back overseas, and most people think when you say contract work that, you know, you're a shooter, you know, Blackwater, DynCorp, something like that. But I actually went over to Iraq as part of it was a classified mission at the time, but it was based around identity management. So there was a chow hall bombing in northern Iraq in Mosul, and the SecDef said, we can never let this happen again. We have to figure out a way to safeguard our bases. So we came up with this base access system, and it was all based around biometrics. So what we did was, when someone would come on a base, they would need to be enrolled into a biometric system. They get a biometrically enabled smart card. Whenever you come to the gate, after you get your card, you put your fingerprint, it verifies who you are, you come in. Now, what most people don't realize is you can lift a latent fingerprint from exploded ordnance. So if you're a bomb maker and you're making IEDs and you go set one and it goes off, well, my forensics teams can now go out there, pick up whatever debris they can find, take your fingerprint off of it, come back and run it.
No way.
And find who you are.
Oh, shit.
So my time in Iraq was very different because it was all based around technology in a way that has never been used in a combat environment before. So I had several different teams. I was the operations manager for the base access program, which was 10 tier 1 sites, 5 tier 2 sites, and 3 DNA labs. And then that was the first couple years. The next couple years I would go on to work directly with the Iraqis, and I became the liaison between the government of Iraq and the U.S. So working with the 3-letter agencies and, really dealing with sensitive information and, trying to help them create and stand up their own capabilities, similar to what we have here in the States. But there's a lot of corruption and, everything's based around money over there, and everything and everybody can be bought. So, when we started handing everything back over to the Iraqis, things started to become more dangerous. There's been so many close calls. The fact that I'm still here talking to you is pretty wild, but it goes to the purpose, it goes to me saying that we all have a purpose, and when it's your time, it's your time. And if it's not, you're going to eventually find what your purpose is. And for me, when I came back with a broken mind, not really knowing what to do, my transition plan failed. I lost everything I had. I was homeless, and I'm like, I just want to put a gun in my mouth and end it. Or I'm like, should I go back overseas? And I don't want to do that. So it was just a mess. And what I thought about was everyone over there who didn't make it back, the close friends of mine who are no longer here. And there's a sense of responsibility I talk about to do something with our lives in honor of them, but also to create a message worthy of sharing with people who might be going through similar times, whether it's from combat or some type of post-traumatic stress. We think of PTSD as something only, around veterans, but first responders, law enforcement, like anyone can deal with, stress and trauma, but it's how you deal with it in terms of your path forward, how you come out of it, who you can help, what message you'll create along the way in your healing.
Yeah.
So that's where I was like, you know what? I never wanted to share fitness with anybody. It was so personal to me. I literally never wanted to share it. And out of desperation, I decided to share it. And within a few months, I fell into Hollywood.
So let's dive in deep prior to you. So when did you leave the service and come back into?
I came back to the States in 2009.
Okay. So when you came back, were you just kind of like you didn't want to continue with it? What was your plan coming back and just into society and just not doing the military stuff?
U.S. Are you familiar with U.S. Northcom?
No.
Northern Command.
Uh-uh.
So it's kind of the umbrella for each service component's entity here in the United States. So you have Marine Forces North for the Marine Corps,
Okay.
and they were based out of New Orleans. There was a colonel there who was interested in me helping stand up a new cell within that office, but it wasn't guaranteed. So me leaving was kind of a leap of faith. Took the leap of faith, got there, blew up in my face, didn't work out. I'm like, I don't know what to do now. Don't know anyone in New Orleans. I've got a family back in Florida that I'm still trying to support. It was just a really bad time. I was trying to find work. I met this one guy who I started doing work for, and he just became, a massive piece of shit and screwed me over along the way. So it was like I kept meeting people who were just integrity violators. You know what I mean? Just really unworthy of even, being able to have a business, because when you have a business and you're doing things in the wrong way, it's a disservice to a lot of people. But anyway, I just gave up on everything, lost everything I had, filed for bankruptcy, was living out of my car, and then I'm like, I'm gonna get certified as a personal trainer. I found a 24-hour gym in Uptown New Orleans. At the same time I was doing all this, to keep my mind sane, I wanted to prep for a bodybuilding competition, a local show. And that was the one thing that kept me grounded, was a goal. Like I needed something to work towards. And I said that I was going to win this show and that I would go promote health and fitness around the city. And have you been in New Orleans?
Yes, once.
You don't go there and I'm like, man, I'm gonna go to the gym and I'm gonna train and be healthy. You go there to party and drink and whatever. So doing this was a very unlikely place, but it worked. Like everyone knew who I was. I was on all the local news stations. I was, going to detention centers and talking to kids and jails and really trying to make an impact. And along the way, Hollywood just showed up in my life through Zac Efron, and that was kind of my entrance into film and TV.
Yeah, I know. And that's kind of like what intrigued me about you, that you worked with a bunch of movie stars, correct?
Hmm.
Was he your first
Yeah,
introduction to Hollywood and all that? And it
yeah,
just kind of what spiraled from
yeah.
there?
There were there were more films and TV shows being shot in Louisiana during the time I was there
Okay.
than anywhere else in the world. So I didn't know that at the time, but I learned when I started working with him, got to know some of the crew, and I remember seeing this production report. It was just pages long, and those were all the productions that were in town shooting movies and TV shows. So I was like, how can I get that? So they'd send that to me, and then I would just relentlessly every week stop by these production offices and drop my flyers off, talk to people, talk about training. I gave out free training sessions. Um, I have all these weird concocted foods that I make, so I'd bring in these protein pancakes, and everyone was just obsessed with what I was doing. Plus, I was much bigger at the time, so I had a presence that really stood out. And just by hammering it every week, every day, I became the guy that everyone sent their fitness to. So whoever came in town, I was the guy they called, and it was pretty surreal because it was Stallone, The Rock, Jamie Foxx, just a whole list of people. So I was able to create a career out of thin air just because I finally decided to do the one thing that everyone knew me for. No matter where I was in the world, it was fitness.
Yeah. Is there the people in that space, like other individuals that do, they train individual movie stars and all that? Is there a lot of competition in that or no?
Oh yeah,
There
I
is?
mean, people dream about doing it, and I was fortunate enough to be able to do it. But what I found out was, Hollywood is a very empty place. It's very superficial. It's very materialistic. I don't fit in with it. At the end of the day, I'm a ground pounder, man. I eat rocks and drink blood.
Yeah.
I don't go to the parties. I don't like. You can go to the parties. I'll go to the gym. I'll do my meal prep and stuff, and that's just the simple life that I like to live. I don't do the flashy stuff, and I think that's partly why I didn't fit in, because I just never had interest in hanging out with celebrities and doing what everyone wants to do.
Yeah.
But there's tremendous competition in that space, and everyone is trying to create their own niche to stand out. When I moved to LA in 2015, it exposed me to the celebrity training atmosphere in a way I'd never seen it before. Everything I knew about training is hard, it's intense. It's about hypertrophy, it's about nutrition, it's about being consistent, it's about doing the stuff that's not fun day in and day out. And when I got out to LA, I'm seeing people like, standing on Bosu balls on one leg with a chain around their neck, with just doing nonsensical stuff, and they're sweating, and it's like, and that's the thing, is people just doing the most outlandish stuff that makes you sweat. But just because you sweat doesn't mean you had a good workout. Doesn't mean it's going to bring you closer to your goal. And unfortunately, what happens is these celebrities who have clout will have a celebrity trainer who does that. Now this celebrity trainer is in magazines and on podcasts and talking about this ludicrous training, and people are trying it and then they're getting hurt, and nothing is going to beat the foundational movements that they're boring. But if you're connected to what you're doing and you're getting stronger progressively each week, then it changes the mindset about what you're doing, rather than, oh, I got to do deadlifts again, or I got to do this again. So I just look at training in a very different way, because what I do is hard. It's not always fun, but it works, which is why my transformations are so dramatic.
Yeah. But do you feel that like because of that, because of your like the way you did it, the old school way, the hard way, the struggle, you have to work through it. Do you think that's why people chose you instead of like these people in Hollywood that just kind of want to train people just half-ass and just more for like the show than anything?
Well, I remember seeing constantly how starstruck people are by celebrities. And to me, I just they're just another person coming in to work with me. Yeah, it's surreal when you're standing in front of Stallone and he's asking you what we're gonna do, and you're like, man, it's the craziest thing. I remember watching you in Rocky
Yeah,
when I was a kid,
yeah,
but uh, but I'm there to do a job. I'm hired to do a job. I'm not hired there to be starstruck and ask you about your movies. And I think what separated me and why I was so successful was that's how I approached it. When they came in, I'd have an initial consultation with them, figure out what they needed to look like um, for the part they were playing. Was there any specifics that I need to know about in terms of functionality for the character? Like all these little things, to me, made a big difference in understanding what they needed to portray on screen. But I think what I did was I never asked for anything. I never asked for pictures. I never asked for anything. But instead, let's just say someone's knee was bothering them or they had some issue, I'd show up the next day and I'd have some compression sleeves. I'd have a meal for them to try because maybe something in their nutrition they couldn't figure out why they didn't like it, and I'd show them what I do and I'd bring them like it was just me trying to provide more value, as much value as I could, and because I'm not starstruck and I'm not trying to hang out and do all this stuff, we just created great relationships, and that was the difference between me. Is just I went in there as the trainer to do the training thing and just make you look like you needed to look, because honestly, people came in to train with me and we were always in a time crunch.
yeah.
There was no real prep, prior to getting to actual production. Like I had very, very short amount of time.
Do you think it was just your passion, regardless? Like if they were, let's just say if they were just wealthy, right, and they could afford your one-on-one, do you think that made a difference? Or like, was it behind closed door? Were you like, shit, Rocky, or whoever it might be? I mean, I know you're not starstruck because I'm
Yeah.
not the same way. And
Yeah.
like I deal with a lot of celebrities, and I admire them because I've either seen them or I like whatever it is that they do. But I've never been the type to be like, let me get a picture, let me do this, let me do that. You know what I mean? I've always treated them like, and I think that's why they like us, like regular, individuals. But there's been times where I'm like, wow, I can't believe we're in this status, in this environment,
yeah.
in this circle, because it's a different atmosphere. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, behind closed doors, yeah, I'd pinch myself sometimes, but
Yeah.
man, did that really happened?
Yeah.
But yeah, but I'm laid back. I'm low key. I don't say a lot. It's one thing I had to get a little more used to being here, is being more vocal and smiling more, because I just tend to carry myself around like I'm on a mission.
Yeah.
And so that's really it. I think people just gravitate towards the authenticity of someone being real, and not stroking your ego, trying to make you feel a way that, like, if you're not doing something in the gym, I'll tell you you're not doing it. If you're not doing it right, or you need to show up more intensity next time, or we need to fix your form. Like, I think a lot of trainers these days, especially with people who are wealthy and in the celebrity space, they're so worried about being fired that they try and go so over the top in the wrong direction, where it's like you're constantly stroking someone's ego, even if they're wrong, and there's no one's direct. And in the celebrity space, I think some of these men and women appreciate people who are direct, because they never get it. They're around a bunch of yes people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen that a lot. I've seen that a tremendous amount with people that we work for and all that.
Yeah.
But they do appreciate that, definitely. I mean,
Yeah.
some of them can be assholes, but
Yeah,
it is
and,
what it
and you
is,
know
you know
what?
what I mean?
And if they are,
Yeah.
it's just not the right fit.
Yeah.
There's more people out there.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask you, because you've also worked with The Rock, right? Dwayne Johnson. My question to you, because this is one that I had on the top of my list, was, so The Rock, somebody who's been disciplined for the most part that I've seen, at least growing up his whole life, like in wrestling and working out and all that. Why? Why would he want a coach and a mentor for somebody in his status and his discipline? Is it because, like, why does somebody like him will need somebody like you to take him or to hold them disciplined and all that? You know what I mean? How important was that for him? And
Well, I think there's a couple reasons. One, if you're at that level, you're always trying to learn new things. You want to learn new techniques, new methods that maybe help. If, like, he had some shoulder issues when we were training, so I was taking him through some different ways to train shoulders that actually helped him and worked for him because, you know, I can relate because my shoulders are pretty beat up. So different techniques, learning different styles of training. I like to do high volume. Like I do a lot of volume. And the goal in doing volume is to really create those long, lean lines, not trying to create a bodybuilder. So I use a lot of volume, a lot of reps. I mean,
What do you mean by volume? Like,
volume is like, let's just say how many sets. When you go into it in the gym to train,
yeah.
and you have one body part, how many sets are you doing for that body part?
Okay.
I'm doing a lot.
Okay.
But in doing a lot, you have to eat properly to recover, and then you also have to take the time off to recover. So there's a method to the madness. But also I also say volume from a rep schematics too, because I mean 20, 30, 40, 50 reps, 100 reps. People aren't used to like, they look at you like you're crazy. Like, how many reps? I'm like, yeah, 50. Well, then you go to 50 and it's like, all right, well, now you're on this mental journey. And you might get to the 20th rep and you're like, how am I going to get to 50? Like in your mind, you're just thinking, how am I going to, and then you just start chipping them off by fives. Do 5, take a breather, go 5. You know, you're not racking the weight, but you're under load. It's forcing your mind to go to a place that it'll never go otherwise. So there's that aspect to it, but also when you're that busy and you've got things going on all day long, it's nice to have someone in there to keep you accountable and just tell you what to do. So overall, that's really what it comes down to, is all those pieces, which is why celebrity trainers should be the best of the best, and unfortunately they're not.
Yeah. And that to me is probably something that I think a lot of people don't understand when it comes out and they say, I don't need a mentor, I already got it down. Or,
Yeah.
you know, even like Andy, how amazing he looks. And I remember the last time that I talked to him, he's like, I think when we were at his house, you were like, watch the way I get him, and the next time you see him, and I like his legs are insane and all kinds of stuff. And I'm just like, you know, you look at people like The Rock, all these people that admire him, you know, he's doing movies, he's doing all kinds of stuff, but it's like, it goes back to like the Kobe's, and like you will always need a coach, you always need a mentor. And I think people think like it's only for a small period of time, you know, and you need that mental toughness to push you to the next level, especially when you made it to a certain, you know, level in life and things like that. And that's why I was so like, wow, that like somebody like The Rock, you know, had you by his side, because it's like they want to be better than what they're at, or they want to improve, or they want to be held accountable, like you said. And I think it just goes back to like, do you feel that for yourself, like you will always need mentors and coaches and people to take you to the next level, even where you're at right now?
Oh yeah. I mean, something that I did for a long time that, looking back on it now, I wish I would have been smarter, is that I never seeked out people to help better myself, because I was so closed off in general to most people. And so looking back on it now, yes, like self-development is everything. Like if you're not self-developing, you're missing out on so much in life, because when you get into that space and you find people who are better than you to actually learn from, it just starts unlocking all this stuff in your mind. And the questions that you go to bed thinking about sometimes start to get answered. And when those questions get answered, the clarity comes through. You have better conversations with people, new doors start to open. It's just, that's one thing I wish I would have done more of. But where I am right now, I am doing more of that.
Right.
And even what you were just talking about, The Rock, having someone, well, for me right now with what I'm trying to achieve, I've got someone helping me with my nutrition. You know what I mean? So it's like there are levels all the way around on all this, because when you're so focused on taking care of everyone else and it's time for you to do you, it's like, man, you got to like really figure out where to start. And then sometimes you second guess what you're doing. It's good to have that extra pair of eyes, making sure that they're keeping you accountable to trust the process and what you're doing is right.
That's cool. I like that. I like that because I think people think that coaches and mentors and people who are in a high level, like yourself, Andy, and everybody else, like they have it all figured out, or they don't need anybody, or they get up in the morning with no struggle, or they do their last rep like nothing. And it's not true. You know what I mean? Everybody that I met, everybody struggles. Everybody has that mental, adversity or whatever it might be, blockage where they think they can't make it and they need that extra push or that extra person to, take them to that next level. And it's never ending.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's what I try to teach people to understand, at least for myself, when I try to coach people. It's like, it's never ending. I think when I was young, I thought it was money, and materialistic stuff. And obviously, nobody here doesn't like certain things. Obviously, money gives you better opportunities and stuff like that. But overall, now it's like I've realized that it's the when they say it's like the journey. I understand it now. It's like the adversity. It's like when you get to that milestone and you get there, like how we'll be in Mexico. Like,
Yeah.
people are like, "You've never traveled," and I'm like, "I've always worked hard my whole life, and I didn't grow up with parents who traveled, and I grew up in poverty. So when I got the opportunity to start a business, like I was like so blessed, and I felt free every single day, even though I've worked hundreds of hours, every single day. But I've never felt more free, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I make the choice of what I want to make, who I get to become that day, and all that. And so it's it's a byproduct. Money and materialistic stuff is a byproduct of just your discipline of your everyday habits. You know what I mean? And I look back now and I'm like, I'm only here because I was just consistent with everything I did, and I always wanted to get better.
Those habits dictate the future.
Exactly, and so like that's why I was telling you, like, now I understand my health. Before it was all like I just want to lose weight because I feel fat. You know what I mean? Now it's like I want to be healthy. I look at my kids. I want them to be like, man, like my dad's 44 and look at the way he looks. Because we think like, I look at back when I used to think of 44-year-olds, or when my dad was 44, and I used to think they were old, and now I'm like, nah, like we're good. You know what I mean? But also it's because so much education, so much is out there, and if you just associate yourself with the right people who can educate you and take you in that right direction, like you can improve pretty quick. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I'm 44.
Yeah, and look how amazing you look, brother. And it's like, to me, it's like, that's what I want to be around. I want to be like-minded individuals who can just expand my mind and be better,
Yeah, the more you know, especially in this day and age right now, about your health, there's no word you can put on how valuable it is, because we're going in such a wrong direction with what we're being told to eat and how we're being told to live our lives. That, I mean, I talk about it all the time, how toxic we're becoming, and how we're literally becoming so disconnected with ourselves that, back to this whole hate stuff that's happening everywhere. The mind is so toxic. It's like you see someone doing better than you hate them. You see someone feeling better than you hate them. You feel like everything is if anyone's doing anything better than you, there's going to be hate. It's inevitable. And I've been seeing it more and more. But for me, I'm here for a specific purpose right now, and that is to take the love of health and fitness that I have. Because I geek out on it, man. And I want to share that with as many people as I can. Because if I can change your life and I can educate you and share everything I know with you, and you go through this massive transformation and everything you're doing, let's just say you and I are working together, everything that I'm going to have you do, I'm going to explain it to you so you understand it. Because if you don't understand it, what good is it? Because you're just doing it because I'm telling you to do it. But if you understand it, now you're creating your own library of information that you can help other people. And I think that's really important, especially from leaders and in the companies, parents and the families. We all need it so much, and that's the basis around everything we're doing here with the fitness division at the Elliott Group.
Yeah, I love it. I love what you guys are doing, and it's me and Kim always talk about it every single day. We're just like, man, look at this transformation of who they've become in the last year or so, and that's kind of what I want to tap into next. So you left Hollywood, right? Are you completely done with Hollywood, or no?
I'm still in it.
Oh, you're still in it?
I just don't talk about it.
Oh, okay.
I strategically have stayed aligned with certain people in the industry, because at the end of the day, I do love the aspects of the creativity process of acting and stunts, and I am getting ready to. Well, we're kind of on the borderline right now of starting my next celebrity transformation. So there's a lot of things in that space that are still moving, but I'm just not talking about it because this is more important.
Okay.
That'll speak for itself when it all comes out in the press and
Okay.
you know all that stuff. But right now I'm just staying aligned with what we're doing here.
Cool. I like that. Okay, so you've taken on, let's just say that you've taken on this new role of kind of like putting yourself out more on the camera in a sense of really speaking. Did you start speaking on stage with Andy, or were you already doing it?
I was already doing it before I met him, but
Okay.
you know Rene Rodriguez.
Right here. Why does that sound familiar?
He's one of the crew. You know what I mean? He's friends with Brad and Keaton and all those guys.
Okay.
But he's a great speaker. If you don't know who Rene Rodriguez
Is he in Texas?
no, he's in Minnesota, but he's all over the country
Okay.
traveling. He's literally on the road more than anyone I know. But him and I met in March in Louisiana. I opened up an event speaking for him. He was the keynote, and at the end of it, I was pretty raw about this time last year, and he was like, "Dude, you got an amazing story. Would you be opposed to me helping you share it in a much more impactful way?" And I was like, I'm all in. I loved hearing him talk. So we started to just do some things together with some of his workshops, and then we started his transformation. So he's now speaking about health and fitness in a much different way. His body's transformed. He has a better knowledge about so many different things that can help everybody. And then he's the one who introduced me to Brad and Andy.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you know I met Andy, and 2 weeks later I'm basically living here. It's crazy.
So how did that happen? Because that's kind of one I wanted to touch into next. Like,
Yeah.
I kind of heard the story, but I kind of wanted to hear from you. How did that transformation of you? Where were you living at that time when you met
Vegas.
him? In Vegas.
Yeah.
And now you're living here.
Yeah, we met, and he's like, "You're the guy I've been looking for." I didn't really know what that meant. I thought I was just kind
like
of
right
meeting
off the bat.
Yeah, he saw my physique and was like, "You're the guy," and we just started talking, and he said he we just talked about fitness a little bit, talked about what I was doing. He was explaining about what he was doing, and he said, "Can you come out to my office next week?" So I drove out here the next week. I was here for 2 days. We sat down and we just really got to know each other. And come to find out, I've got more in common with him, or we both have so much in common. It's scary. And he's like, what's it going to take to get you to move out here? I was like, excuse me, what? Like pick my whole life up and move again. But I did it, and I'm fortunate I did it. But literally came here, hit the ground running. I mean, literally, I moved on a Thursday. I had Friday to get whatever I could unpacked, and then Saturday we were off to Mexico.
No way.
And then literally since then, it's just been full tilt.
That's crazy. But what was it about? What was that? Because I don't think it was so much money, right? It was more than
Had
that. It was like
nothing to
like
do with
right?
money.
Because you don't seem that
Yeah.
type of individual and everything you've gone through. Is it more of exactly what you guys are doing now, the purpose and
Purpose,
and
yeah.
what you guys are going for?
I've been in the transformation business for a long time, and I've never seen a transformation like his. And I don't mean just from the physical part, but there's something about his eyes that is so intense. I really don't even know how to describe it.
I know we were talking. That's what got me.
Yeah, like there's something in his eyes that just it screams at you.
Yeah.
And there was it's I mean, I'm fascinated by it, and just to listen to him, and like he's got strengths and I have strengths, and we kind of balance it all out, because what he's trying to do with fitness, that's my world, and then what he's trying to do on the business end and speaking and having a powerful message, that's what he's trying to help me with. So we've got a really good thing going, and dude, what we're gonna do this year is nuts.
It's gonna be crazy.
Like everything that's actually happening right now behind the scenes, that's going to be coming to light soon, it's like it's the next level stuff, man. Like the whole Elliott Group is going to be on a level that I mean, this is going to become a global thing.
No shit.
Yeah.
Can you give us a little insight or
No.
nothing?
No.
All right.
Yeah, but he's unaffected and unfazed by anything. Like there's literally like these comments and these people on the internet that try and
Yeah,
smear
clout.
him,
Yeah, yeah.
it literally, like, if you're listening, you can just stop because it literally means nothing. You know what I mean? Like, it literally rolls off the back. Like, he cannot be phased by any of it because he's so steeped in what he's doing and he's so locked on his purpose. You see people massively successful in whatever industry. You look at these influencers, speakers, these high level business owners, and you see how long it's taken them to get from when they started to where they are now. And it's usually maybe there's been some condensed time frames, but even still, it takes a long time. What he's done in 3 years, there's no way to talk about the work ethic and the grind. And I say the grind not in a weird way, but there's just no, like, the foot doesn't come off the gas ever. Doesn't matter what day it is, doesn't matter what time it is. Him and Jackie go until their body says we need to sleep. And I don't know anyone who's willing to put in that type of effort every single day, but also just to show so much love to the team.
Yeah.
And to make sure the team is always taken care of, because at the end of the day, if the team isn't, there's no team.
Yeah. What do you think has advanced him? Do you think his health obviously has advanced him and had him
Yeah.
surpass a lot of the people out there that've been doing it forever?
Yeah, health, but also just the mindset. Just being so clear and focused and having such belief in knowing that you're about to do something historical. I mean, that right there will should anyway, keep anyone going or running as hard as they possibly can.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I feel like an old man around here. I'm like, dude, I need to take a nap. I'm like, shit.
Is there people in the industry that you see that you're like, man, this guy's amazing? And then let me rephrase that question. Have you met people in the space of like self-development and all that, like speakers and business, and that are out of shape? And how do you look at those individuals? I mean, do you see them and you're just like, man, this guy could be just more great, or damn, like, you know what I mean? Because I
Yeah.
look at Andy and I look at you and I'm just like, you guys is like just physique, and then the way you guys talk and everything you guys project out there just goes hand in hand and just makes you guys seem so powerful, you know? And now that I started working out and I look at individuals, I'm like, man, that guy's such a great speaker, is great at business, but man, he's let himself go, or whatever it might be. You know
Well,
what I
like
mean?
you just said, when someone can be very powerful or influential or have a lot of money, but when they're out of shape and their health is off, they're missing the foundational component to everything. I call fitness the gateway. You know what I mean? It opens up all doors, no matter what industry you're in. If you have your health and you're fit and you're in shape, there's just something that's going to be inherently different about the way you carry yourself, the way you talk, the way you stand, like everything.
Yeah.
So when you see these people, and I don't want to say names, but yeah, there are many of them out there who, if they just tackled that one last piece of fitness, they would unlock so much more that they have inside that they can't talk about because there's no believability. That you can't talk about fitness if you're out of shape.
Yeah.
You can't talk about health and nutrition if you're out of shape, because then people just roll their eyes and then you just lost all your credibility.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And that's one thing that for me that I've just been like, especially now that I've gotten older, I'm so grateful that I just had that mind shift of just really wanting to take care of myself and feeling better and just dropping those, it's been 48, 50 pounds, and I just feel amazing,
It's
you
huge,
know?
man.
And it's like my mind is more, I don't sleep as much, you know? The Whoop just keeps telling me like, yo, you gotta sleep. Like I've been about 5 hours, 4 hours. I've been getting better because now I'm understanding what sleep does for you.
Yeah.
And I look at like the things that you talk about and everybody else talks about, and it's like, I love how you said with Brad Lee that like if you see somebody that's lack sleep, you'll rather have them sleep than to go hit the gym because they're just gonna half-ass it. And
Yeah.
I've been that half-ass person that I'm just like, no, I have to go to the gym, you know. And it's not necessarily that your body has to recover, you know. And
There was this period of time where it was like grind, 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 sleep when you're dead. And that always never, I couldn't really relate to that, because for me, I know how important sleep is. You know, like most of us are in tune with our bodies, or we've heard about the lymphatic system in the body. It's a drainage system. Well, your brain has something called the glymphatic system. It's also similar to the lymphatic system in terms of it's a it helps the body detox at the end of the day. So if you're not sleeping, your body or your brain isn't really able to fully do what it needs to do to wake up healthy, optimal, ready to go. So like if you wake up and you're tired, or if you don't sleep, you get 4 hours or something, you wake up and you're just groggy. It's like your brain hasn't had a chance to do what it wants to do. Like there's a cleansing system. Your body's the most resilient machine that's ever existed, and it knows how to do what it needs to do to make your health optimal. But you have to work with it. You have to feed it right. You have to let it sleep. You have to let it recover. So the ones who are optimally healthy, you can get away with a little bit less sleep because your body knows how to manage it a lot better, and you're not trying to fight inflammation and a lot of the garbage that's going through your body. But in general, sleep is the most important thing that you can possibly do over the course of a day outside of nutrition.
Yeah. How do you handle that with Andy, or does he get proper sleep?
I mean, I'm always telling him, like, dude, get as much sleep as you can get.
Yeah.
But I know the way they roll, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, sometimes there are just not enough hours in the day to get everything done. So there are some times where if he's texting me at midnight, I'm like, dude, sleep in tomorrow morning. Like, let's do this smart. Let's keep your body healthy. Sleep is really important. There's no sense of going into the gym when your body hasn't had proper rest, because then now you're just doing everything opposite. So the effects of what training should have now aren't as impactful, in my opinion.
So what is the average? Do you know?
Andy?
Yeah.
I like to say he gets 6 hours.
6 hours.
Yeah.
Would you say that if he slept more, he'd be even more jacked?
Not necessarily, because I know when he sleeps, he's out. Like, he's done.
Oh, okay.
I mean, when we get on a plane, he'll be asleep in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
You know, when you're that kind of tired, like the sleep is you're getting solid sleep. So could he get more? Yeah. We have Sundays off, so I like to think that he catches up on sleep on the weekends.
Is that technically really how it works? Like the science of it? Like, can you have a day that catches up with the rest of your week, do you think? Or it's better like
your body will adapt to whatever it has to adapt to. We're just trying to make it as optimal as we can, because again, like what's going on here in the Elliott Group, like we're about to expand construction. Like there's so many things constantly going on every week. There's no getting over the hump. It's like there are just new levels, and every week I feel like there's a new level. And to think that there's a new level every week is the craziest thing I've ever heard of. But when you're doing something that's so impactful, and I talk about making history and how historical what we're doing is, it requires a level of work ethic that the normal person can't even comprehend.
Yeah.
And after being here for as long as I've been here, when I do go back home, or when you're just out in public in general, you hear people talk, and it's just such a mediocre way of thinking. Everyone is just so normal, and it's all based around these norms that society has placed, that it's like when you venture outside of what society thinks is normal, it's like all of a sudden you're weird now, and it's like, well, you just can't even relate to the normal person anymore. You know what I mean? Their frequency is so diluted. They can't speak intelligently because they're so bitter. There's just so many different levels of mediocrity in today's society. So it's really cool being in a place like this where everyone is just always trying to level up all around in every aspect of their life. Like these standards we have here are very important, just between the health, the nutrition, the fitness, the training, the sales. Like there's so many facets of everything we do here, and it's just constantly every day trying to evolve.
Yeah, I see that, man. I remember the first time I came, I even thought like people were faking it here. Every single door we opened, everybody's energy was insane.
Yeah.
Polite, kind, very like, warming, welcoming and everything. And I was just like, is this shit fake? But every person that we introduced, their energy was just amazing. And I went back and I was just like, fuck, like, man, this is like, I remember speaking to somebody and they were like, it's not like that. And I'm like, no, it's like that. I remember? I think I told somebody and I was like, yeah, and I was like, yeah, and I was like, no, the shit was like that. He's saying, there's no way people could run like that all the time. And I was like, I don't think they were faking it, because unless everybody was like with like earpieces, be like, hey, here they come, everybody, like action. I was just like, shit was just phenomenal.
That's
you know?
it. Yeah, it's unlike anything I've ever seen.
And it's contagious because you want to be around it, you know what I mean? And you just, and you're right, like you said, I've been around conversations where you're just like outside of people who are just living the normal day to day, and you're just like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like,
well, if you just keep an ear out, I mean, if you're at a restaurant or grocery store, people having conversations in general, 9 times out of 10, someone's talking about someone else, or they're talking about a negative situation.
It's crazy.
It's pretty toxic.
It's crazy. Are you a big fan of like the law of attraction and all that?
Yeah, I mean, I do like it. I just, you know, I'm a kingdom guy. You know what I mean? God's everything.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think the universe thing is really cool. But at the end of the day, I surrender everything over to the big man.
Yeah, I love that. Are you Christian?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Yeah, that's another thing that I loved about everybody here. Just your guys' core values, your beliefs in God and all that, because it's just it's phenomenal what you guys got going on here, man, and I really appreciate you know, giving me the opportunity to sit down with you. I hope to have this again when I hear what you guys got going on, because definitely you've been a huge influence in me and my health and the way I look at things, and Andy and everybody around here, and I look forward to going on my first trip, you know, outside of this great country that we live in, and just continue to grow and be around you guys, man. So I really want to thank you for being on this podcast. I appreciate you, and you know, God bless you and everybody on everything you guys are doing.
I appreciate you. Thank you, brother.
Thank you so much, brother.
It's awesome to be on here with you.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you guys once again for being on Tales of the Underdog, and we look forward to seeing you guys on the next episode.